Hitler's fake diaries. In 1979, a reporter named Gerd Heidemann met a man who collected old things from the time of the Nazis. That man said he had found a secret diary written by Adolf Hitler. He claimed it was saved from a plane crash in 1945. Some experts looked at the writing and said it looked real. Later, more diaries appeared, and a man named Konrad Fischer said he got them from someone in East Germany who was hiding them inside pianos. Heidemann believed the story and convinced his magazine to pay a huge amount of money for 60 of these diaries. In 1983, the magazine published the story. Other big news companies also shared parts of the diaries. But many historians quickly said something felt wrong. They knew Hitler didn't like to write, and no one close to him ever said he kept a diary. The things written inside also didn't match what people knew about Hitler, like saying he didn't know much about concentration camps and didn't want to kill the Jews, only send them away. More tests were done. Scientists checked the paper, ink, and glue and discovered they were made after Hitler had already died, so the diaries were fake. Konrad Fischer was actually a fake name. His real name was Konrad Kujau, and he had made many fake things before. Heidemann, the reporter, said he didn't know the truth, but he still took extra money for himself. Both men were sent to jail for nearly 5 years. War of the Worlds. In 1938, actor Orson Welles did a radio show called The War of the Worlds, pretending that aliens from Mars were invading Earth. It started like a regular program, but soon fake news bulletins interrupted, reporting explosions on Mars and a meteor landing in New Jersey. Many people missed the part where it said it was fiction. When they tuned in late, they thought it was a real emergency. The broadcast described aliens attacking cities like Chicago and St. Louis, and even beating U.S. troops. Around 1 million people believed it was real. Some ran from their homes, blocked roads, or called the police. One woman even shouted in a church, "Prepare to die!" CBS later stopped the show to calm people down, and Welles explained it was all fake. Princess Caraboo. On April 3, 1817, a young, beautiful woman appeared in the small town of Almondsbury, speaking an unknown language and dressed in strange foreign clothes, including a turban-like shawl. Locals were baffled, and a magistrate and his wife kindly took her in, trying to uncover her origins. The woman often pointed to herself and said, "Caraboo." Soon, a sailor said he could understand her strange language. He told an exciting story. She was a princess from a faraway island called Javasu. Pirates had kidnapped her, but she escaped by jumping into the sea and swimming all the way to England. Everyone was charmed. Newspapers picked up the story, and high society welcomed the supposed princess. But the attention backfired. A woman in Bristol recognized her as Mary Baker, a former servant. Sea monster attack in Tokyo. One night in 1947, a radio station in Tokyo suddenly interrupted its regular programs with shocking news. The announcers said a huge sea monster had come out of the ocean and was heading toward land. While telling the story, they played sounds of gunfire, cannons, loud roars, and people screaming in fear, making it seem like everything was really happening. They said fishing boats had gone missing, a village was destroyed, and soldiers were sent to fight the monster. Rifles didn't work, so they had to use big cannons instead. The whole thing sounded so real that many listeners believed it. But the next day, it was revealed to be a hoax, a fake story. No one knows for sure who the broadcasters were, and some people think they were secretly sent away to Korea as punishment. The Patagonian giants. Back in the 1520s, some explorers started telling stories about really tall people, giants, living in a place called Patagonia in South America. They said these people were about 12 feet tall. Over the next 200 years, more travelers claimed they saw these giants too. Then in 1766, a man named Commodore John Byron came back to London after sailing around the world. Some people from his ship said they had seen a tribe of giants in Patagonia who were about 9 feet tall. Newspapers and magazines started printing the story, and many people got excited about it, but not everyone believed it. Finally, 7 years later, a full report of Byron's trip was published. It explained that the tallest person they saw was about 6 feet 6 inches. That was pretty tall back then, but not a giant, so the stories were mostly just exaggerations. The donation of Constantine, a long time ago, people believed that a Roman emperor named Constantine gave control of the city of Rome and even other major Christian cities to the Pope. The story said Constantine had leprosy and was healed by Pope Sylvester. To say thank you, he became a Christian and gave the Pope control over Rome and many important churches. This donation was written in a document that was found in the 8th century. For hundreds of years, the Catholic Church used it to prove they had power not just in religion, but also in politics. It helped the Church stay strong in medieval Europe, where religion and government were often connected. But in 1440, a Catholic priest named Lorenzo Valla studied the document and realized it was a fake. The Latin used in the writing didn't match the Latin used in the 4th century when Constantine lived. The Church agreed with Valla, and after that, the document was no longer used officially. The Cardiff Giant. In 1868, George Hull, a New York tobacco seller and a skeptic, argued with a preacher about the Bible's claim that giants once lived. To prove how easily people could be fooled, Hull created a fake 10-foot giant out of stone. He aged it with chemicals and secretly buried it on his cousin William Newell's farm in Cardiff, New York. A year later, workers found the giant while pretending to dig a well. Newell set up a tent and charged people to see it. Hundreds came daily, believing it was a real petrified man. Some even thought it was proof of the Bible. Experts like Yale paleontologist Othniel C. Marsh called it a fake, but many still believed. Showman P.T. Barnum even made a copy and claimed his was the real one. In December 1869, Hull confessed it was all a hoax. He had spent over $2,600 to prove that people believed too easily. Great Moon Hoax of 1835, Sir John Herschel was a real astronomer who went to South Africa in 1834 to set up a telescope. But in 1835, a newspaper printed a fake story saying that his telescope was so powerful, he saw strange things on the moon, like people with bat wings, walking beavers, one-horned goats, and even pyramids. The story sounded very real because it used some true facts and was written like a real science report. At that time, people were excited about new discoveries. So many believed it. The story spread across the US and even to Europe. Later, the writer admitted he made it all up and was shocked that so many people believed something just because it was in a newspaper. Loch Ness, the surgeon's photo, the legend of the Loch Ness Monster, has fascinated people in Scotland for over 1,500 years, with ancient carvings near the lake showing a strange, flippered creature. But the real craze began in the 1930s, after a newspaper reported a huge animal seen in the water. Thousands of people rushed to Loch Ness hoping to spot it. The most famous photo of Nessie came in 1934, known as the surgeon's photo. It showed a dark shape with a long neck sticking out of the water and was said to be taken by Dr. R. Kenneth Wilson. For decades, many believed it was real proof of the monster. But in 1994, the truth came out. The photo was part of a hoax created by a hunter named Marmaduke Wetherell. He was angry at a newspaper that had embarrassed him years earlier. Wetherell's stepson later admitted they built a fake monster using a toy submarine and a small model, and got Dr. Wilson to deliver the photo to the press. The Fiji mermaid, P.T. Barnum, the famous 19th century showman, built his career on amazing the public with strange and unbelievable exhibits. One of his most famous tricks was the Fiji mermaid, which he claimed was the preserved body of a real mermaid caught near the Bay of Bengal. In 1842, Barnum put the mermaid on display in his American Museum in New York City. Crowds flocked to see the odd creature, which was said to have the upper body of a monkey and the tail of a fish. It looked convincing to many at the time. Years later, a similar specimen called the Java mermaid ended up at Harvard's Peabody Museum. After close examination, researchers discovered it was actually a handmade item, a tourist souvenir crafted in Southeast Asia from fish bones, fins, papier-mâché, and other materials. There was no monkey involved at all.